Good Chodesh, Chodesh Iyar, Ani Hashem Roifecho, should all be Zoiche for Refuah. They were learning Bo Mציעא Daf Sameches. We're going to start 4 lines down. Omar Ravashi, Omruli Saba, Sabi de Mosa Machzia. The old people from Mosa Machzia told me, Sta Mashkanta Shata. So we've been talking a lot about this. A mashkanta is when someone gives a field as a guarantor for a loan and the malve uses a field. The my nafkemina, what is nafkemina of a year? Ahai ochil, the ochil oshata, if the malve has been in there a year, motzi misalekle, and then the loiva can kick him out and pay off the loan and get the field back. Ve'iloi, loi motzi misalekle, if the year's not passed, even in a place where the minig is that the loiva can kick out the malve and pay back the loan and get back his field before the period end of date of the loan, that's only for years past, but before year he can't. Omar Ravashi, Omruli Sabi de Masa Machzia. My mashkanta, what's the word mashkanta? Why is the mashkanta called a mashkanta? So the Gemara, the Shchuna Gabei, that is like a neighbor to it. The malve is like a neighbor. Mashkanta Loshan Shochen. The Mainaf Gemina, that's the reason, the name of mashkanta. Ledina de Bar Metzra. That here, if there is a din, that if someone wants to sell a field, a house, the first one who has the right is the neighbor. So here the malve is considered the closest neighbor, even closer than the physical neighbors to the field. And if the loive wants to sell a field, he has the first right on it, the malve. And that's why it's called mashkanta, and that's the nafkamina why that's called mashkanta. And it comes out that today when we say mashkanta to the bank, it's just a borrowed term, because of that it's not shchuna gabei, because they don't have a first right to buy it. Omarova, les ilchesa, loi ketarshi papunoi, we're going to see what soon it means, veloi keshtori mechuzunoi, veloi kechakiri nershoi. Said the Gemara, ketarshi papunoi, it means like ketarshi de rapapa, like what we had early on of rapapa. What was the case of rapapa? On Samechei he said he used to sell his beer for the more expensive price of later on, and they'd pay him only later when the price goes up. And he said, I'm not gaining, I don't mind holding my beer and selling when the price goes up. And then we said, oh, but who said we look at you? Maybe let's look at the person who's buying, and why is he willing to pay a higher price? So therefore it's forbidden. It's, they put the keren on the half. So basically it's talking about when someone gives merchandise to someone to sell it for him, and the profit is split 50-50, and instead of whatever the profit is he pays, they write in the shtar already the profit that they're planning to make, and as if that's part of as if he gave him that amount. So let's say he gave him merchandise worth £1,000, and the plan is to sell it for 1,100, so they write in the shtar that he owes him 1,000 for the capital and plus 50 for the profit, but they write it as if it's a capital. He owes him 1,050. So that's forbidden. Because of the shtar, they write in the shtar. Why is it forbidden? Maybe he won't manage to sell it for more expensive. So why are you writing that he owes him 1,050? He really owes him only 1,000. My father would write the actual profit in the shtar, like we said, that's forbidden. And when the people who he gave the produce to sell, the merchandise to sell, and if they come back and say, oh, we never managed to make any profit, and he doesn't charge them the full amount of the shtar, he charges them less. That's very good when he's still around and alive, so he could trust them. If he passes away, and the Yisraelim have a shtar that this person owes them 1,050, but really if he didn't sell in any profit, he only owes them 1,000, and they won't know what's the story behind it, they'll sue him for the full amount. So, what are you going to do then? Said the Gemara, it's a pasuk that we use when someone said something negative and something really bad happened because of those words, and you could see the power of the words, that sometimes someone could say something with no meaning and it will happen. passed away, because Rav Ashi said that what will happen if a meimar will pass away. So a meimar passed away, very sad. Chakirin Arshoi, what's that case? The Kosvi Ochi. Mishkan le plania are le plania, v'odar chokrominei. So what they do is they lend out money to the poor people, and then they take a field, like we said before, of a mashkin, and then they rent out that field back to those anim, and the anim pay for that field. That's the case. So Chakir Nashoy, the Kasvi Ochim, Mishkan le plania are le plania, he gave a mashkin to the Narshoy people, and then the Oni took it back from him. So said the Gemara, it's not good. Amos Konya, the Aknianele, when did it become the Malva's field that he could rent it out? It's not really his, it's only a mashkin. Said the Gemara, Vaidna, nowadays the Kokasvi Ochi that they write a bit different. Kanina minevi she'ina kama idni. The Malva says, I bought off him the field and it was by me for a while, and then he rented it out back to the Oni, even though that's not really true because he never sold it to him. But it doesn't look like, it looks like more that belongs to the Malva. So said the Gemara, in such a case, because we don't want that people won't able to take a loan, and there maybe people won't give them a loan if you can't do it. So we found type of a loophole. We let you do it. Said the Gemara, Lav Milsi, it's not true. Even if you write it like that the karka was a few years by the Malva or for a while, it's still forbidden. Now, before we start the next Mishnah, I want to explain a type of business deal that the Mishnah is going to discuss over here. So you have Reuven and Shimon. So Reuven has stuff. Let's say he has apples, and Shimon has time. So Reuven goes to Shimon and tells Shimon, listen, take these apples, worth £100, sell them in the shop little by little, and then the profit, the £10 profit, let's say, well, you could sell for 110, we'll split 50-50. Now, part of the deal would be that 50% of the apples, if something happens to them, Shimon is responsible for, and 50% of the apples, Reuven's responsible if it gets ruined. So really, the part that Shimon's responsible for, if oinus happens, he has to pay Reuven. It's like alva, it's like a loan, because it's fully his responsibility. So it's really Shimon's now. So if he sells that and it goes up, very good, it's his profit. But the other 50, why is Shimon willing to work for those 50 and work for Reuven and sell his 50? That it's not his, it's Reuven. Reuven's going to get the profit on those 50. So why is Shimon willing to do it? The reason why he's willing to do it, because he got 50 that he can make profit on. I mean, because he got a loan of 50 to make profit on, so he's willing to work for Reuven's 50 to sell it for him. And that the Mishnah says that's a problem of ribis. And that's the main case of the Mishnah. Let's see the Mishnah inside. That's the case I just said. We gave Chenvoni to sell some apples, bananas, and half gain and half losses on Reuven, half gain and half losses on Shimon. So the reason why he's willing to do the other half of Reuven to sell it for him is because the half that he got, that he makes profit, and that's a problem of ribis. Similar case is to give someone, not someone a chenvoni and you go and you give him produce, you give someone, take money, go buy fruit in the wholesale market, and then sell it, and the profit will do 50-50. So you're not allowed to do that that you both gain half. Only if Reuven, who's giving the fruit to Shimon, pays him also for working on and selling his own fruit. That means he's also giving him a loan that Shimon could profit from, but also on his 50%, on Reuven's 50%, Shimon gets paid for doing the job, and therefore there's no ribis, and that's mutter. Similar case, that Reuven has eggs and Shimon has chickens, and Reuven tells Shimon, I'll give you the chickens, the eggs, and let's estimate the eggs now worth, let's say, £10. Put your chickens on my eggs, then they're going to have, little chickens, and you can go, it's worth more than an egg. So the difference of now it's worth £20, it went up in £10 from value. So we'll split that profit. So it's the same case because Shimon takes a price on half the eggs, the other half is working for Reuven for free. It's ribis. So you're not allowed to do that. The same case with baby cows and baby horses, that you're not allowed to give it over to someone to you estimate. Showing me estimate how much they're worth now, and in a year's time how much it went up in value, and 50-50 on the profit. Again, it's forbidden. Elohim Kain, the only solution for that is chor amoiloi umezoinoi. If he pays him for the work that he's doing on his half and for the food that he's feeding the animals. And in the chickens, for the baby chickens, they also need food. Says the Mishnah weiter. אבל מקבלים הגולים וסיוחים למחצו ומגדים אותם עד שיהיו משלושים וחמור עד שתהיה טוענת. That means in a case we didn't estimate the value now to say, oh, if it goes down in value you'll have to pay me. I give you the animals, and wherever it goes up in value you have to pay, but if it goes down in value you don't have to pay. And therefore he's not taking a price, and therefore it's not like alva, he's just basically type of working for me. He's working for all my thing, and his payment is halfway benefited. But he's not taking responsibility on 50, because you're not shomit, you're not estimating how much it's worth, that you say if you went down in value you'll have to pay me. So therefore there's no alva over here, and therefore it's mutter. And then the Mishnah, the last two cases of the Mishnah, is just telling you that the minig is, when you do such a thing, that the person has to keep them and make them grow until they become a third the size, let's say a third the size of a cow, then he gives it back to the owner. The chamor, and by a donkey until it could load already a load, and then he could give it back to the owner, and the owner takes care of it. That's just to tell you that's a minik. It says the Brisa, Tona, kepoil bottle. It says kepoil bottle. My kepoil bottle. What does kepoil bottle mean? By us it says they have to pay kepoil. And the Brisa adds on, it says kepoil bottle. What is kepoil bottle? Omar Aryeh samiches on base kepoil bottle shelo isa melocha de bottle mimeno. That means the guy's working, schlepping boxes, and is getting £20 an hour, and you offer him, you know what, don't schlep boxes, just sit outside my shop with a stand and sell for me eggs. So he's willing to get £14 an hour because he's not schlepping and sweating, right? So also over here, how much do you have to pay? You have to pay, let's say what his other job was, he was doing until now, that's much harder. He has a much easier job. How much is he willing to get and to do this job and work less hard? That's how much you have to pay the person to deal with half of your merchandise that you gave him to take care of. Saving more of a tzricha, you need both cases in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said also chenvoni, that he gave a shopkeeper apples to sell, and also a case where he gave someone money to go to the market to buy apples and sell them. You'd say chenvoni udesagile kipoil bottle, then it's enough to pay him kipoil bottle. Mishum deloy nofish tirche is anyway selling in the shop. Aval mois likach beim peres. The nofish tirche that he has to go find the fruit and work much harder. Maybe you have to pay more, like a bottle, full wage. If you'd only say that case, because he's working hard, so that's why you have to pay him kipoil bottle. Aval chenvoni deloy nofish tirche is anyway selling in the shop. What if he cares selling a little bit more produce? Maybe he could give him much less, even just a tiny bit. He gave him to dip in his ketchup when they were eating chips together. He only ate one dried fig. It's good enough. That will be good enough. Like you're going to see later on, there's such a shita. That's why the Mishnah had to tell you both cases. Now the bracket says Kama easy Tarnagolis Manim Simon. It's all the next sugyas. Each one's a simon for the next part. So the first one is Kama. Toner and Kama is Chorei. So how much do you have to pay when you have such a deal of 50-50 for him to work with my 50? So we said before Kipoil bottle, but we see there's a machloikis about it. So we say Bein Meruba, Bein Muad, Diver Amir. Amir holds you have to pay him some, wherever a price could be a little or a lot, but you have to fix with him a price. wherever he's willing, but it has to be a fixed price. Rabbi Yehuda Omer afilu lo toval imo elo betzir v'lo yochal imo elo gregeres achas. Even if you gave him a very little bit, that's good enough. Those chorei, and you don't have to fix it. Rabbi Yehuda is even more makul. You don't have to fix it. Just by the way, you ate with me, I gave you a bite of my sandwich. That's good enough. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai imo noisen is chorei misholem, and Rashi explains that misholem means kipol bottle, and our Mishnah that we said that Tzoma Kippur bottle, it goes like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, that we should Be'ezus Hashem be zoicha to go to his yortzeit, his keva. Said the Gemara, Tonu Rabbanon ein shomin, lo yisa izim v'lo yisa rechelim v'lo yikol dovo she'ino yisa v'oichel. You're not allowed to shomim in the case of, like we said until now, that you give someone, you estimate the price, how much it's worth. Now you give him, take care of it, and the profit's 50-50. So not the goat and not the sheep, and not anything that doesn't produce. Because if it's a cow, since it's by him and he takes care of it, he could use a cow in the field to plow the field. So that's his profit on my half, and therefore that's his payment, and therefore he's not doing it for free. But if he's not producing anything, it's forbidden. Lemechzo, for half, 50-50, like we said. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Shomim, Esaizim, Fnei Shecholvois. You're allowed to give goats because they bring milk, and the sheep, they have shear. You can take the wool. And when they go in the river, some piece of wool comes off, you take it. When they go between the fawns, a piece comes off, you can take the wool. And also chicken, you can give someone to grow because it produces, it brings eggs. So it's mutter. Correct the Gemara of Tanakama, give v'cholov loy sofak l'schar molo u'mazoynos. Tanakama, who argues, who says you're not allowed to give goats and sheep, isn't the shearing and the milk that the goats bring good enough as a payment for his work and for the feed to feed the goats? Isn't that enough? Says the Gemara, big giza v'cholov, when if really they agreed that the person who got the goats and the sheep, he could get all the wool and all the milk, kula almeloi pligi, that it's allowed. Ki pligi, what's a machloikes ben nisyuvi v'tutri? When it's only a small amount. So nisyubi means that you get like the end of the milk, it's like the water of the milk, that's a very little, and tutri, it means the wool that comes off on the water and in the fawns. Tanekama Savalok Rab Shimon ben Yochai, that holds the Omanus and Uschor Misholim, you have to pay him Kippur bottle, and that's not Kippur bottle, that's much less. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Savalok Avur, like his father Rabbi Yehuda. Even if he only gave him to dip in the sauce of the fish, and gave him one fig, dried fig, achas, even one, those chor, that's enough. So therefore, the little bit that comes off in the water and the foam and the water of the milk, that's good enough payment for his work that he's doing. Ton Rabbanon, maskeres isha lechaverta, a woman could rent out to her friend, Tarnagoilis. She gives her the chicken, and she tell her that you take care of it, and I want the price that you're going to pay me for this rental is b'shnei froichim. You're going to pay me two baby chickens that come out. So that's mutter because it's like a schirus. It's not like that they said half. Sorry, the case was one person the lady had the chicken and a friend had the eggs, and she gave the chicken to the lady of the eggs, and she says, I want two baby chickens that come out. That's mutter because it's not split 50-50. It's like renting out the chicken. My chicken, and your eggs, and we'll split 50-50 on the chickens. So Rabbi Yehuda said it's like before, it's like renting out the chicken, that's mutter. Rab Shimon also. And Rab Shimon says it's also because it's like we said, ain't shomim, because it's 50-50, she takes responsibility. It's like a loan. Why is she working on the other 50? Because of the loan, and therefore it's forbidden. Said the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, does Rabbi Yehuda say it's mutter? What do you mean? We said you're not allowed to shomim tarnigolim or anything because it's like a loan with ribis. So what's pshat here? It's allowed. He's not paying the work and for the food of the chicken. So the Gemara, these funny eggs that they don't hatch, and you could eat them. They're not worth very much, but they exist, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda L'Shitose, you hold that you could give a very small payment, and therefore that's a payment for the work that she's doing on her share, and therefore it's mutter. And obviously Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai holds it's also because L'Shitose you hold that you need to pay fully. In a place where the minig is that when you give someone little animals to take care of, to make them bigger and split in the profit, and the minig is to pay for him schlepping the animal in and out to the field, or wherever it needs to be schlepped because it can't go by itself, so you have to pay. Wherever the minig medina about this, that's what you should follow. Rab Shimon Gamliel oima shomim egel im imoy v'siach im imoy ואפילו במקום שנהגו לעלות שכר כותף למויס. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says that you're allowed to give a baby cow together with his mother, or baby horse together with its mother, and even in a place where you normally pay to schlep it, but because you're giving it with the mother, you don't have to pay for it because it's the mother's gonna, wherever the mother goes, the baby's gonna follow him, so you don't have to really schlep. Said the Gemara of Rab Shimon Gamliel loy boy schar amoloi muzoinoi. Where are you getting paid for the work he's doing? We said you always have to pay the person on your 50% because otherwise it's ribbis. So the Gemara Ike Glolim, there is a manure that comes out from the animal, that's a payment, you can use it to fertilize a field. V'yidoch, the other one who doesn't agree with that, he holds gluli afkurim afkulu, that it's not considered payment, everyone's mafke, no one has taina or bailus on the glolim, everyone's mafkeret, that's not considered a payment. Omar Nachman, Alocha Rabbi Yehuda. Alocha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that the payment they need to pay for a person for dealing with your half is only very basic. Litvoi limoy betzir, or one dried fig. Alocha Rabbi Yehuda, and the Alocha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that's enough to pay the little bit of the water of the milk and the wool that comes off in the water and by the forms. Basically, it's the same really din like Rabbi Yehuda, but it's a different case. It's okay to pay very little for your half. That you could give the baby with the mother. And also, like we said, why? Because of the glolim, and the glolim is a very small payment, but it's all based on the same din, that you don't have to pay very much to him to work on your half. It's just a symbolic little payment to show that he's not doing it for free. Shkoyach, everyone should have a very blessed month with lots of refuah.